Hey free-to-play gang, welcome back to another video. Today we are going to talk a little bit more about COUNTESS SONICA projection. This is going to be one of the new This is going to be one of the new Sentinel Hunt bosses. So there are going to be 3 and I'm going to go through all of them. Or rather, the third one is Dark Star-Lord. I've done so many videos on Dark Star-Lord. He's still going to remain, I think, pretty much the same. I haven't really given too much attention to him just yet. I've been spending more of my time thinking about Ferbiter and COUNTESS SONICA. So for today's video, we are going to talk a little bit more about COUNTESS SONICA, and TLDR, I do feel like COUNTESS SONICA is probably one of the more difficult bosses here. I feel like she is maybe on par with Dark Star-Lord, so these two bosses are going to be the most pay-to-win bosses, but I feel like COUNTESS SONICA is probably very free-to-play not friendly because you need a lot of espers to make this team work really well, and you really need to have certain espers, and if you do not have those espers, you're not going to strive well at all. So for example, you have 3 teams and you need to have really good cleansers on each of those teams in order for this team to work. So you need to have Jin Yu, you need to have Catherine. These two are a must-have in this setup. But anyway, without jumping too much into the details just yet, let's talk a little bit about the phase 1. And then I'm going to show you how phase 1 is supposed to look like and what your optimal strategy is supposed to be. And then later on, we are going to move on to phase 2. So let's start off with phase 1. So what you must understand is that COUNTESS SONICA has 2 phases. The first phase is like her normal mode, and the second phase is when she transforms. And we're going to try to capture that as well. So for the first phase, when she's in the normal mode, there are a few pointers that I've marked out over here. So in total, there are 4 pointers, right? So start off with point number 1. Your highest defense esper on your team gains a spotlight buff. So on my setup over here on the right, you can see that there is only one defensive esper, and that's going to be Joser. I feel like Joser is probably the best choice for this setup. Apart from that, I think Renzi is also pretty decent, but I don't think Dona is that good. So there are a lot of people saying that Dona is going to have a comeback because of COUNTESS SONICA. I don't think so just yet, because I feel like Joser carries a lot more, like for example a defense break, and Renzi also has a defense break, so I think Renzi is not bad. But for Dona, I do not really think he actually strives that much. I don't think so. Alright, so Spotlight, this is what it does. It is an undispellable buff that COUNTESS SONICA grants to your highest defense esper. So that's going to be Joser here, right? So defense and damage is increased by a lot. Now, when the carrier dies, COUNTESS SONICA's base speed increases. So you do not want your Joser to die, right? Basically. So he's going to be the only esper on your team that's going to be dealing any kind of damage at all. And now point number 2, COUNTESS SONICA stacks Searing Sight on each of the turns that she takes. So every time she takes a turn, she's going to gain this Searing Sight stack. And what this does is it is an undispellable buff where each stack reduces damage taken with a total of 25 stacks. So the thing is, you do not want her to take many turns, but there is one way that you can do so, which is point number 3, COUNTESS SONICA can actually be AP reduced. So these are the espers that you can use to reduce AP, so I think Lucas is probably one of the better choices out here. But in my opinion, I think Sander and Xiaoyin, they are going to be super powerful, they're super charged up over here. So both of them in one team is probably going to be good AP control, especially if you have a lot of speed on your setup as well, which is why Sander is going to be excellent with the speed lead as well. Now point number 4, and this is also the most important part for the COUNTESS SONICA fight, which is you cannot heal, or rather healing is like nonsense in this fight, right? So healers are inefficient due to this debuff that you naturally have at the start called Hardcore Voice. So the only way to heal is to actually cleanse. So whenever you cleanse, you are not really cleansing anything, or it's not really so much about removing debuffs. Is that whenever you trigger any sort of cleansing, be it you're using a Hengria, Jin Yu, Catherine, maybe even a Clara, that is actually going to trigger a heal on your team, which is about a 20% heal or something like that. So Jin Yu and Catherine, they are going to be super powerful because they cleanse on every single one of their turns. So you need those 2 espers. You need it a lot. If not, your team is not going to function that well, I think. So here are all the 4 espers that have really good cleansing. I'm not sure why they forgot about Clara, but Clara is definitely going to be one of the better espers over here as well. And this is what Hardcore Voice does, right? It is an undispellable debuff that your team has. So the carrier takes damage at the start of their turn, which is about 20% of your max HP. Now when a buff is dispelled, it's not really a buff, it's being dispelled. It's more like whenever you receive a cleansing effect, then they will recover HP. But all other healing received will be reduced. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. So bringing healers here don't really make a lot of sense. So in terms of healing, Meredith is probably not going to be a really good pick, but I am using her just for the speed buff. But actually, come to think about it, I think Celine is going to be a much better choice here for the speed buff and the defense buff and the AP reduction as well. Yeah, I think I'm going to actually replace Meredith with Celine for a sec. Okay, so I'm done setting up my first team. Let's take a look at how this works and why this works. So I'm going to run this on manual just so that we can understand the process along the way. So the thing is, for this boss, it is not necessarily going to be that complicated. It's just a lot of text and a lot of new effects that we are not used to, and that's about it. But apart from that, everything that we understand from whatever they have just showcased is going to be good enough to help you defeat the first phase of the boss, right? So we're going to turn off auto real quick. And the goal is essentially just AP control the boss as much as you can and have your Spotlight Esper attack as many times as needed for Sonica to transform into her second phase. So that is just the goal. So you see, whenever we take a turn, right, we're going to get a chunk of our HP gone just like that. Can you see that? So we actually lost a little bit of HP just because we took a turn. So we're actually just going to like reduce the AP of the boss, right? Yeah, you can AP down the boss, and whenever any one of your allies take a turn, they are going to further reduce more HP this way. So yeah, something like that. But the thing is, as soon as our cleanser takes a turn, she's actually going to heal all our allies back by a significant amount of HP just because she cleanses while this debuff is on top of us. So this debuff that I'm talking about is Hardcore Voice, right? As you can see here, Hardcore Voice. So that's essentially the idea for this current fight, right? So whenever the boss has a buff, then if you're trying to play manual, you can also use Mount Kunlun's Rage if you have a Jinyu Yao just to reduce the boss AP as well. So that's just basically it, but as you can see, our damage that we have been dealing so far has been super low. We have only done 7,000 damage to the boss, including Sander as well. So what happens when we use our Joser who has the Spotlight buff, right? If you take a look at him, he does have the Spotlight buff here. Defense and damage is increased significantly. So take a look at this. 78,000, but let's take a look at what happens when we use Xiao Yin to attack with, let's say, our third skill, right? 10,000 damage, which is like not much at all. So yeah, that's gonna be the goal. Oh wow, I just realized that Celine also cleanses on her second skill, right? Oh wow, it removes one. Dude, Celine is gonna be so... Celine is gonna be so good over here, dude. Okay, so having both Jinyu Yao and Celine on the same team, I think is very important because what you notice is that when Jinyu Yao actually took a turn, she healed herself, but she didn't heal herself past whatever HP that she lost. And I'm not exactly sure why that's the case just yet, but I think having two cleansers is going to work out very well so that your whole team is just going to have a lot of HP. So that's generally the rule of thumb here. So as you can see, right, even though Jinyu Yao healed everyone, she took a bit of damage as well. So I think how this works is you heal yourself first and then you take damage afterwards. Yeah, maybe that's the reason why she has lower HP, which is why Celine here is going to help out a little bit as well. And as you can see right up here, these broken tracks, there are a few more turns needed to be taken before she transforms. And the thing is, whenever Joser moves, this is actually going to take down by 1 as well. So the thing is, you do not want her to move, you want to AP control her as much as possible and only use Joser to attack so that you can reduce the timer on this so that she will eventually transform. So that's just the goal of this fight here. And what you notice is that when the boss takes a turn, right, she will gain 1 stack of this Searing Sight buff, which reduces the damage that she takes. So the thing is, you want to prevent that as much as possible so that in your second team or your third team onwards, she won't have so many of these stacks, which is, yeah, something that you want to avoid at the start. So try to AP reduce her as much as possible. Very nice, and that's about it, right? Just AP reduce her and just use Joser to attack as often as possible. And that's about it. Okay, so now she takes a turn and she's going to gain the buff, right? She's going to gain the Searing Light buff. Yeah, so now she has 2 stacks of it, dude. Look at that. She has 3 stacks, so that she gained 2 stacks after taking her turn. 140,000 damage with a defense break. Very nice. So you can only imagine the sheer power when you have a defense buff on him, right? So yeah, Celine is going to be optimal in this case. Defense buff plus cleansing plus AP reduction. Perfect. Celine is going to be awesome here. Wow, dude, do you just see the heal? Celine healed Jinyu Yao from like 1 drop all the way to almost full. How the hell did that even happen, right? I'm actually not sure how that happened, but she topped Jinyu Yao off like in 1 single skill. Oh, she transformed. Holy shit, I wasn't paying attention. Okay, so she transformed here. We take a bit of damage and oh my god, we are almost dead. Okay, I kind of messed up on the second round because the instructions were completely unclear at all. They missed out on 1 debuff on the second phase, and I'm not sure why this is the case. So they actually missed out on the fact that whenever Countess Sonica takes a turn, she will apply a new debuff on your team. And at the same time, the previous debuff that we talked about on her first phase, which is Hardcore Voice, this no longer happens on the second phase. So after the first phase is done, Hardcore Voice is no longer there, so you can actually start healing normally. So we are going to be using healers on this lineup, and of course, if you do not want to use Alice here, it's perfectly fine. You can bring another healer like a Hengri. I think that will be a little bit more consistent, a little bit safer as well. But before I get ahead of myself, let's talk a little bit more about what the second phase entails before we take a look at the actual run itself. So the first 3 hits of each of your attack, which includes pursuits and assists as well, will deal less damage per turn, the first 3 hits. Okay, so for example, if you hit 4 times, right, And each of your 4 hits are supposed to do like 10,000 damage. You're supposed to do a total of 40,000 damage. Instead, what it's gonna look like is your 4th hit is going to do 10,000, I think. And your first 3 hits are going to do significantly less damage. Something like that. So in order for you to do significant damage, you want to bring Espers with many multiple hits on their attacking skill. Or the other approach is to use, let's say, a R2 Yuntruan and a Hall to make 3 hits become 4 hits, because they are going to support you in that sense. So that's one strategy, but it's not a strategy that I'm using here, of course. As you can see, I'm using Gaius because Gaius naturally has multi-hits on his second skill, right? He hits 5 times. So that's going to be good enough. And the reason why that is important, we will explain along the way as well. Although, I do feel like one of the better choices here is probably going to be Louis, because Louis hits up to 9 times on his 3rd skill. So I think actually Louis is probably a little bit better than Gaius, but yeah. I don't have him built just yet, but I do feel like Louis is probably going to excel a little bit more here. But point number 2, healing is now possible, but each turn taken by Countess Sonica applies 1 stack of Celestial Dim on all allies. And what Celestial Dim does is, due to severe ultrasonic influences, healing and shield effects are reduced, while damage taken is further increased. So this is how they gatekeep you and to limit the points that you obtain so that you don't get like infinite points, right? So Celestial Dim is going to be the gating factor here. And point number 3, Countess Sonica is immune to AP reduction, so you can no longer bring AP reducers here, it's not gonna work. Now point number 4, Countess Sonica enters charge mode every... shit, I forgot to change this. I think it was like every 3 turns or something. I'm not sure, okay. We're gonna take a look at that in just a minute anyway. So during this particular charge mode, her speed is reduced and all your allies have their cooldown reset to 0. So that means they can just spam their skills at the start. So this is going to be really good for Espers like Gaius because he can instantly drop his S2, and if he drops his second skill, he's going to land 5 attacks, right? 5 multi-hits, which is going to be perfect because of the next point here. Allies' multi-hit attacks give them as many absolute range stacks. And what does this absolute range do is, when attacked by Countess Sonica while she is in the frenzy mode, which is the second phase, the carrier blocks all incoming damage and effects from the attack at the cost of 1 stack of this effect. So if Countess Sonica attacks you 4 times during the charge mode, so long as you have at least 4 absolute range buffs on yourself, you are going to negate all the damage. So Gaius is naturally going to negate all the damage coming from the charge mode itself, which is something that we're going to explore as well. Don't worry about it, okay? I will explain everything in greater detail. So after a turn, charge mode from Countess Sonica ends, and Sonica attacks all allies 4 times. So this is why you need to have 4 stacks of absolute range in order to prevent all that damage. But the thing is, if you're not able to have 4 stacks of absolute range, then what happens is you will get that difference in terms of bafflement stacks. I forgot to add an L here. What a major L. So that means that during the charge mode, if you attack the boss only 1 hit, right, just 1 hit, you are only going to get as much as 1 absolute range stack. It doesn't matter whether you take multiple turns, they only consider the turn that you did the most hits on the boss, with pursuits and assists included as well. And what Bafflement does is each hit reduces the carrier's damage. So this only really matters for your DPS Espers, it doesn't really matter so much for your supports. So it's not so important, except that it might be a good idea to have more stacks of absolute range so that you protect your support Espers as well, even though you don't really care too much about having bafflement. So for example, let's say we're talking about Alice here. If Alice normal attacks on her first skill, she's actually going to gain 2 stacks of absolute range because she hits... My apologies, she only gains 1 stack of absolute range because she only hits 1 time. But the thing is, if she does pull 1 ally to assist, and let's say she pulls Meredith, right? Meredith has a triple hit on her first skill, and with this triple hit, that's going to give her a total of 4 attacks in this 1 turn that Alice took, and as such, she's actually going to have 4 stacks of absolute range, which means she's going to negate all the incoming damage that Sonica is going to inflict during her charge mode. Oh my god, rip. So here is the goal. The goal is to bring triple hit DPS Espers plus 1 R2 Yuntruan or a Hall, or you can bring double hit DPS Espers plus an R2 Yuntruan and a Hall as well, or you can just bring quadruple hit DPS Espers. So for example, assist and pursuit Espers, you have Yuntruan, Brewster and Hall. I don't really feel like Brewster is that good because he has a cooldown on his quadruple hit attack, although it's still gonna work. Yeah, actually now that I think about it, it's still gonna work because Countess Sonica actually recharges all of your skill cooldowns when she enters the charge mode, so yeah. Never mind, Brewster is still really good. All the easier way out is to just bring attackers with multi hits, right? So Gaius, Louis, Chloe, the twins also have a lot of multi hits. Ophelia is gonna be excellent here as well because she's gonna gain her 3rd skill during the charge mode where it's needed, right? Liling is also really good, but Lily is like shit, I mean, don't even consider her, okay? But I do feel like maybe Gaius, Louis, Ophelia, they're going to be like the best choices, or Chloe as well. Yeah, these 4 Espers, they're going to be the top 4 Espers here. Alright, so without further ado, let's take a look at phase 2. Alright, so here we go. This is the start of second phase. So she transforms and instantly goes into the charge mode. So I know I keep talking about charge mode, but you guys have no idea what this is about. So this is a psychedelic state, and this is what charge mode is supposed to be, right? So this is Spotlight, enters charge mode for 1 turn. During this time, reduces her speed and resets all ability cooldown. So that means we have all our skills ready right now. And when charge mode ends after 1 turn, attacks all enemy 4 times, right? So this is basically it. So this is the charge mode here. She's gonna be a little bit slower. This is where we need to land a lot of multi-hits, especially for our DPS Espers. But of course, now that we are left with our Joser from the first team, he's gonna die. Yeah, something like that. Okay, so now he's dead. RIP. Okay, so this is technically the start of your second team, and this is what it's gonna look like. So the goal is just gonna be very simple, right? Just bring multi-hitting Espers, and that's about it. And just heal past some of the damage that she's gonna land onto you, and then you're gonna be fine. I think that's about it. So I don't think I really need to control my Espers all that much, but I just want to like at least play it safe a little bit, just get our buffs up, and I think that's about it. You know what? Let's just run this on auto and see how this works, right? So this is going to be the second phase. Yeah, you'll see that when she enters the charge mode again, yeah, so every three turns, right? When she enters the charge mode again, we are going to gain all our skills back. This is just one of her, like, her second skill, I think. It does some debuffs and all that, but yeah, it kind of sucks. So maybe you might want to bring some kind of cleanser. So I think maybe we might need a Hengria here. Yeah, I think instead of Alice, we might just want to bring a Hengria instead. Yeah, the buff block sucks, dude. Okay, wait, hold on. Okay, she's going to use her first skill here. And then the next turn that she takes, she's going to use her charge mode. Oh, and as you can see, whenever she takes a turn, or rather whenever COUNTESS SONICA takes a turn, we will gain 1 stack of the Celestial Beam here that, yeah, like I said, right? I'll just put it on the screen over here so that you can see what it does. Yeah, it doesn't matter that we are spamming our skills because the moment she takes a turn, okay, don't forget that all your cooldowns are going to be reset. So that's going to work out perfectly for us. Alright, so here we go. She's going to enter charge state and you guys are going to get some epileptic seizures. So as you can see, all our skills are fully capped. So if you go back to our guys again, he has his second skill ready. So essentially what's going to happen when he takes a turn, right, you're going to see that he gains so many stacks. So many stacks of the, what's it called? Absolute range stacks. Okay, so Gaius, he's going to use his second skill and he's going to gain 4 stacks of the absolute range. So essentially, he has full protection against, well, there's so many buffs. Essentially, he has full protection against whatever attacks that Sonica is going to land after this. So he's going to be perma invincible during all of her charge modes. Ah, there you go. Okay, so you see that Alice got 4 stacks of the absolute range because when she attacked, she actually got Meredith to support attack, and Meredith lands a total of 3 attacks, like I said, so a total of 4 attacks, and therefore she has 4 stacks. And here comes COUNTESS SONICA, and when she attacks, you realize that Gaius doesn't take any damage. Alice as well, because they both have 4 stacks of the absolute range, right? Yeah, so you see that Abigail got hit 3 times because she only has 1 stack of absolute range. Meredith got hit once, Unas got hit once as well because they both triple hit. So that's about it. So that's kind of like the idea of this particular fight. Bafflement is not going to matter so much, right? Like as you can see, there are 2 red debuffs here. One is Celestial Beam, but the other is Bafflement. And Bafflement only really affects your DPS Esper. But because we're using Espers like Gaius, he will never get Bafflement. Right, he will never, because during the charge mode, he will always have 4 stacks of absolute range. So that's generally the idea behind COUNTESS SONICA, and I don't think she's really that difficult. You just need to bring like a lot of like cleansers. I think cleansers are quite important. Healers are very important. Hengria is going to be awesome here. Clara is going to be awesome here for phase 2 at least. And phase 1 is going to be a little bit different, but it's not super complicated or anything like that. I think Dark Starlord is probably a little bit more convoluted, but that is generally it. This is the run. And the nice thing about being in the charge mode while having an Abigail here is that she's definitely going to revive something if any of your allies are dead, because she's going to get her cooldowns up. So that's going to work out really well. Okay, we're going to get clapped here real soon, but I think we just did our best score, which I'm happy about. So yeah, okay, so this is done. Alright, so 1.28 mil. This is definitely our first score. And what happens after beating the boss is, depending on your score, you're going to get better rewards from the random sets that we're going to obtain. So here, I have either one of these 3 options. I'm going to pick the war set, I think, and I'm going to get a bunch of like, yeah, level 60 relics. So this is really awesome. The rewards are pretty good. And of course, if your score becomes a little bit better, you're going to get better rewards. And oh my god, I got a flawless attack percentage. Very nice. Okay, so there you go. That's it for COUNTESS SONICA. We did 32 damage to her. And my club is completely useless. No one is actually attacking. It's just me. But yeah, anyway, that's it for this video. If you have any other questions, leave it down in the comment section below. Hope this video was helpful for you. I know it's a little bit long and I'm so sorry about it because that's really what she said. But anyway, if you guys enjoyed today's content, don't forget to leave a thumbs up. It really helps the channel, and subscribe for more Dislyte content. Now with that said, this has been Derek Free to Play, and as always, I will see you in the next video.